Hello, movie buffs. I recently went to Laika Animation Studios just outside Portland, Oregon to see what goes on behind the scenes, and I'm telling you, that place is nuts. Of course, you probably know they make stop motion films like Coraline, Kubo and the Two Strings, and the upcoming film Missing Link, which stars Hugh Jackman as an adventurer and Zach Galifianakis as Bigfoot, or a Yeti, or whatever you want to call it.
Actually, I go by Susan.
What most people do not know about is the crazy amount of work that goes into even the smallest details on these films. Before we jump into it, do me a solid by hitting subscribe. I don't want to spoil what happens when you do, but trust me, it's awesome. You wouldn't expect much from Laika at first glance. The outside of the building kind of looks like a dentist's office, but then you walk into this giant warehouse filled with movie magic. As a video guy, there was a lot of stuff that blew my freaking mind, but the first thing that struck me was the amount of intricate detail that goes into setting up even the most minor scenes in the film. You don't really think about it, but they shoot in 24p, that's 24 photos a second, and these characters are moving constantly. So you could have up to 24 different eye placements in 1 second, and that's just for the eyes, which they adjust with these little metal needle things. I hope you appreciate how technical I'm getting with the jargon here. I obviously learned a lot. Then to change facial expressions, they have removable magnetic faceplates like you see with Hugh Jackman's character, Mr. Lionel here. Slightly disturbing, very Terminator-esque. The mass production of these is made possible by their advanced process of 3D printing. I would explain it to you, but I'm not smart enough. Then of course, each puppet, if you want to call it that, has a fully adjustable skeleton so it can bend to each circumstance within the film. Anything they can't shoot naturally with the puppets is set up on these very elaborate rigging operations, which in themselves are a spectacle. This rig was created so they could get a shot through Mr. Link's mouth, and there was 6 knobs just for adjusting the tongue. Let me make sure you understand how crazy that is. 6 mechanisms just for adjusting tongue movement on a rig built for 1 shot. That's insane! What makes Missing Link in particular such an undertaking is that it's an adventure film, so there are so many sets. Filming these miniature sets myself was like super fun. It feels like you're on a life-size set operating this big, expensive camera rig that you can move through towns and above buildings. So I got to make believe I was filming something with a massive budget, which is probably the closest I'll ever get. The small details that go into each room are astounding. The way they described it is that each setting has to be so believable, detailed, and built to scale that the viewer kind of loses themselves. They're engrossed in the story, and they forget this is essentially 24 puppet photos per second of footage they're watching. Thus, the Laika team can work up to a full week just to get 1 minute of footage. 1 minute. Laika is known for pushing the envelope when it comes to stop motion and essentially reviving what they consider to be a dying art form. So most stop motion usually takes place on a smaller scale. Even envisioning the amount of clothing research and creation that went into a period piece like this is super impressive. One way they upped the ante with this film was with the textures. If you look at this elephant here, the reason that each fold looks so realistic is because the skin actually feels like elephant skin to the touch. And I know because I touched it, after being explicitly told not to touch anything. The puppet textures are so realistic that when they move on camera, they recreate all the nuances of motion in real life. One other bonkers little video detail, the cameras they were using. Canon 5D. That's it, just a bunch of Canons. I mean, that's a great camera, especially since they're just taking a series of stills, but for a huge motion picture, it's so weird not to see big, expensive cinema cameras. They also use special effects to create things like rain, make the eyes look more natural, and smooth out the lines and puppets where various pieces were placed together. Some more stop-motion purists, like Wes Anderson, won't utilize special effects in this way. However, people are taking notice of how special this hybrid of traditional stop-motion and CGI really is, which led to a visual effects Oscar nomination for Kubo. Though again, the goal is always to get as much as they can in camera. This sounds like a lot, and you're right, it is. It's amazing how much goes into these films, which even prompted me to ask the producers, at the risk of completely embarrassing myself, why? Why not just animate it and create a stop motion look? Why stop motion? To which they responded, why paint a picture when you can just take a photograph? It's about the challenge and an appreciation of the art form. Anyway, it was a great experience. You gotta have respect for the patience these filmmakers have. Even creating this video was a ton of work, and I didn't have to build anything. No one lets me play with puppets. If you have any questions about my Laika experience, drop them in the comments, and please hit subscribe. It will change your life, I guess. You can check out Missing Link when it hits theaters on April 12th.